Hello and welcome to ATD and the D Today podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Maier, currently the chapter president for ATD Detroit.
And I'm your host, Clifton Clarke, currently the chapter president-elect. This is a podcast all about training, learning, and development here in Metro Detroit. ATD and the D Today is produced by the Detroit chapter of the Association for Talent Development. We're a professional organization for people who are dedicated to improving their skills and career prospects within the learning and development world. You can learn more about us at DetroitATD.org. You can also learn more about the ATD National Organization and all the industry insights they offer at TD.org. We'll be here each month hosting a conversation with some learning and development professionals. We're going to pick a topic in our field and share some news about what's going on with ATD Detroit. We hope you'll hang out with us and share it with your friends.
Clifton Clarke.
Hello.
We are so excited to welcome Sardek Love, engagement expert. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to be here with you all today.
We are thrilled to speak to you about ATD and your career and how you became successful through ATD. Before we begin, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Sardek Love, and I'm originally from Mount Vernon, New York. And I've had the blessed opportunity of having, and I've put this out there in the past, and I articulate and say about 90% of my overall career success, I can attribute directly to ATD. And we'll talk about that as we go along, but I have been blessed. They published my first book. They allowed me to speak on stages internationally. And even before all of that, back at the local chapter level, who knew that this thing called ASTD would spawn into a career of love that I have with ATD. So, but primarily what I do is I do many things, but the main things that I do is I'm an engagement expert. And so what that means is I look at engagement from the training side, how to engage participants. So I teach training professionals how to be very engaging. And then on the leadership side, I focus on employee engagement. So helping managers and leaders engage their employees. And I have a whole performance consulting arm of what I do that is the underpinning of all of that. So it's behavior-based, habit formation-based, give you frameworks, models, tools, and let you go out there and make people happy and drive performance. So that's what I do for fun.
I love it. Thank you so much for the introduction. So I'd love to hear first about how you got started involved with ATD and where your career was when you started.
Yeah, so we're talking, I was a member of ASTD back, a student member when I was a student at Virginia Tech, an undergraduate. So we're going way, way back to the 80s, late 80s. So I've been a member of ATD since 1988. So that can, kind of date things. And I was a trainer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Maier. I am president of ATD
now Anthem
Detroit.
Blue Cross Blue Shield
and
in the
this is my
Roanoke area.
host.
And I became a member of the local chapter there while I was in training. And someone approached me, actually the president of the chapter approached me, as sometimes happens in smaller chapters. They really kind of gravitate to new members and say, do you want to be on the board? I was like, no, I don't know what that means. It sounds like four-letter word that ends in K, like work. And she was like, yes. However, let me explain something to you. At the time, she was president of the chapter, and she said, I got my job with Mercedes-Benz here in Roanoke because Mercedes-Benz contacted ASTD National and asked for a list of chapter leaders that they could recruit from, and ATD somehow granted that back then. And so she got her job, and she's like flying all over the world. And she's like, so ATD being on the board is great. And I was like, sign me up. And so I got on, I became chapter president. So I was president-elect in 1997, president of the Valleys of Virginia, which is Roanoke, Virginia, in 1998. And, it just went from there. And we can detail how I went through other things, the national advisors for chapters and stuff like that. But that's where it began in Roanoke, Virginia, when I was working for what was then known as Trigon.
When you started volunteering with the ATD, you said you were president-elect.
Mhm.
Can you tell us about your experiences being president-elect and, hitting the ground running?
Yeah. So one of the things about me is at the time when I was in the training function, I had, prior to being in the training function, when I was with the Valleys of Virginia chapter, I was in business roles. And then after I left the president track, I still was in business roles. So I came from a business aspect. So the first thing that I did with the Valleys of Virginia chapter, we had a declining membership and we couldn't get
Okay.
people to come to our meetings. And so I was bold. I contacted ATD and said, hey, I need some help. And
Oh,
I
wow.
flew up from Roanoke, Virginia, flew up to DC and asked for a meeting, asked for a meeting with the CEO, which was Tina
Wow.
at that time. And she said yes. And then she scheduled meetings with all of her direct reports, of which one of them was current CEO. At the time, he wasn't CEO, Tony Bingham. So I've
Wow.
known
Okay.
Tony Bingham for 30 some years, whatever that is, right? So he was chief information officer, something at that time. So I met all these people, and that's how I got FaceTime for like 30 minutes with each of her leadership team. And that made all the difference. So they sent some national caliber speakers down to, in particular, during my presidential year to help us attract people. And our membership shot through the roof. And so,
Clifton, are we
yeah.
taking notes?
And so that helped. And so with me getting FaceTime with them, then I got approached. So this was 1998, and I finished my past president year. And then I came off of the board because I went into, in my career, I went into management roles back into the operations in the insurance company. But then I got approached by a person who was the chair of the National Advisors for Chapters, Joe Wilmore, and he said, "Why don't you apply for this thing called the NAC?" I didn't know what the NAC was. Um,
Okay.
and so I applied, and it was one of the rare times that someone who applies the first time gets accepted. So I got accepted in
Let's
2000.
pause for a second, though. What is the knack for our listeners if they don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for asking that, Sarah. So NAC is the National Advisors for Chapters. So
Hmm.
the way ATD is structured is you've got the local chapters and you've got the chapter boards. And then at the national level, you have all these different volunteer opportunities that people can matriculate into from the local chapters. And the National Advisors for Chapters is a group that is, as it sounds, they are there to serve as a liaison between the boards of local chapters and national ATD. So they're kind of like a liaison, translator, support for,
Yes.
yeah. And so they provide coaching, guidance, and all that. And the requirement is you have to have been a past president of a chapter, because you need to know how chapters are run so that you can
Hmm.
advise. And so that's what the NAC is. And it's a 3-year term. So I got elected the first time I tried for it. Just so that, you got to apply for
Yeah.
it and all that. And so that group works directly with Tony Bingham and his board of directors. So you get FaceTime with the CEO and whoever's chair of the board and all the other board members. So I got to know all these pretty interesting people who were CLOs of. That's why I have a very personal relationship with Rita Bailey, who's former CLO of Southwest Airlines,
Okay.
and several other people that you probably would recognize. I've got personal relationships with them because of being on the NAC.
Okay.
Mhm.
I
And
love
by the way,
that.
that experience was the transformative experience, those 3 years in 2002 to 2005. Those years on the NAC changed everything about my career, my life, and my trajectory of where I went.
Yeah.
Wow.
How did you use the knack to network? What did you do?
Yeah. So one of the things that I always coach others to do is, when I do coaching for folks, is
Mhm.
become known for something, no matter what it is that you're doing in your career. If you're an entrepreneur or you're internal, working for someone, be known for something. So the one thing that I was good at, because I was a systems analyst at the time when I came off of the chapter board, I went into a systems analyst role at
Mhm.
Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so when I came onto the NAC, one of the things that National ATD was struggling with was understanding their membership database and all their numbers. I show up as a systems analyst. I start giving advice on how to do this stuff with their databases that I became affectionately known on the NAC as Data Man.
Okay.
And that allowed me, so all of a sudden now I start getting all these inquiries from all the different people. Tony asked me questions, all their CIO. And so
Hmm.
I worked with the NAC and helped them give guidance back to the local chapters of how to run their membership databases and make sure that their numbers were accurate. So I
Hmm.
became known for that. And what that allowed me to do was get FaceTime with some pretty influential people on the board and different companies and things like that. And it furthered my career at Blue Cross Blue Shield as well, because now I'm getting notoriety in this association. So I used it to its fullest.
Oh,
Wow.
great. I'm so intrigued. Guess
Yeah.
Knack, here we come, Clifton.
Right. Right. Right.
That was all changed. And let me say something very honestly, okay?
Yeah.
Let's keep this real for a second. There were not very many African Americans in training at that time. We're talking
Mm.
1998, 2000s, early 2000s. So to be an African American male, which was a very rare thing back then, to
Yeah.
be in the presidential role and then to get onto the board. So that allowed ATD to demonstrate that they were showing diversity, not just with having
Yeah.
women, things like that. So this was all great timing in the sense of that respect. And there's still great opportunities from that perspective with ATD. That's the one thing I love about ATD. The level of diversity and focus around that has always been strong.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah. Cool. So, Data Man,
That was then.
you got you got a whole brand there. That's awesome. Now, I don't know if we told you this, but a lot of our new members that we get, they come to us and they are already very successful in a particular field, whether it's recruiting or finance.
Mhm.
And one thing they always say is they want to use training as their business and they want to build their brand.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I know that, they gave you the name of Data Man and that was sort of given to you, but can you just sort of detail for the audience how you started to build the brand that you're known for today? How did that happen? Because a lot of them are looking for that guidance from us, and we're saying, well, that's nice. We're going to help you, but we're going to call Sardek.
Yeah.
Have him help us. We're still building our businesses, and so we're sort of learning together. But I'm really thankful to have you here because it's so timely for what our members are looking for. How'd you start building your brand?
Well, Clifton, it's been a journey of many years. And as I was telling Sarah before we started, uh, things like branding and building a personal brand are a lot easier today because of the nature of technology, social media, things like that. So you can explode a brand a lot easier than I did it the hard way back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Mm.
But one of the things is the seminal article that started everything, because I'm a researcher. I've always been that way. I've been a curious. Even my mother used to be like, "Why are you so doggone curious?" And and actually one of my methods is called the Curious Ask method, ASK.
Mm. Mm.
So I've taken this curiosity and turned it into a career. But there was an article that came out in a magazine that was relatively new called Fast Company, and the article was um, I'm trying to remember the exact name of it, How to Build a Brand or something like that. And I got that article and I don't know when it came out. I don't know, 90s, 98, 99, something like that. And that kicked me off into building, my personal brand, how to build a personal brand, I think it was. And, from there, I just started studying this stuff. And my degree, undergraduate degree, is in marketing education. So I had a little bit of interest anyway. Um, so I started focusing, and my dad would always tell me, be known for something. Whatever you're going to be good at, be the best that you can be the best in it. So I've always been competitive in a sense to try to be the best that I could be, even though you wouldn't know that about me because I'm very humble. But underneath all this, I call myself a humble egomaniac. You know, I'm super humble, but I will punch you in the throat to get past you. No, I'm just kidding. I'll rehab. I don't do that anymore. But no, so you do things. Now, notice what I'm doing here. I'm doing something very intentional. I use humor. That's one of my ways that I build brand and connection. I say things that grab your attention, and I do this naturally. And so that's one of the other ways that I've built brand. You can build connections with humor, appropriate humor, I might add. But you have to be intentional. And, you know, so I started way back in the day, and then I just focused on being the best at whatever I was, whatever role it was, systems analyst, manager, you know, researcher, whatever. I just became the best that I could. And here's the key. Back then it worked. It still works today. Get out and be part of an association and build your brand through the association. It is the fastest way to build your brand. So ATD was my association of choice. It doesn't have to be yours, but that I always tell people now, get out there, get on these boards, get the network, because as John Maxwell says, one is too small a number to be successful or great at anything. So success, I like to say success is never a lone wolf journey. You've got to have sponsors, and associations like ATD are wonderful for that. So I built my brand through ATD. And then once I established a brand within the ATD structure, I just branched out from a career perspective and used that to my advantage. And I can give more techniques as we go along, but that's like a 3-minute overview.
So if you could take us to that pivotal moment where you became a national speaker and things started changing, can you recall that moment? Was there a moment? Can you take us there? What happened?
Oh yeah. There's always inflection points in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Points that transform our trajectory. And for me, one clear point of inflection was when I got fired.
Whoa.
So, you know, so I was working for Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a very prestigious consulting firm based here in the DC metro area. I'm in the Northern Virginia area. And excuse me. And let me say this. I love Booz Allen to this day. It was just a situation where I was there for 13 months, and the boss that I had, classic example, boss employee fit, right? So he was a senior manager. I was a mid-level manager. We didn't mesh very well. 6 months in, he terminated my employment. And the day I got fired was the day that I had a decision to make. And I went to Booz Allen to learn how to do what I'm doing now. I wanted to be a speaker, trainer, and I was actually managing vendor relationships for the firm. So I was hiring people like myself. So I wanted to learn that side of the business. When I got fired, I had enough knowledge about pricing and how to, you know, how Allen would hire consultants and speakers that I just launched my business 15 minutes after getting fired. Literally, as I was driving back to my townhouse in Northern Virginia, I called a buddy of mine and told him, hey man, I just got fired. By the way, this guy I had met as a member of the National Advisors for Chapters. He was
Shout out to the NAC.
There was only 3 of us selected that year, and he was one of the 3. We became good friends. Rick Hicks. Rick hates it when I tell the story because he knows that he's a very kind of a humble guy, shy guy, and I give him all the love because I called Rick as a dear friend and said, I just got fired. He was like, yo, look, today's your lucky day. And I was like, Rick, what are you talking about? You know, this is right before Christmas, December 8, 2006. And, you know, I was like, it's not what is lucky about this? And he said, we just signed a large contract. He was with a company, he's a VP of operations. We signed a large contract with Chevron to do leadership training. And none of my trainers have leadership background. You do.
You do.
All right.
Your choice. Full-time, contractor, part-time, you name it, you got a job right now.
That
was 2006. In January, I was on a private aircraft for Chevron on a chartered flight going to Angola.
What?
The first of I've been to 32 countries, working in 32 countries. Of the 32, I did 20 through Rick's company. And Angola was my first one. So Rick Hicks and what was then called Randy Smith Training Solutions, I was a contractor, and that changed everything, all because of my connection with Rick through the NAC and ATD.
Okay,
Wow.
it's official. We're joining.
Right? So you're working with Rick, and are you thinking at that point, I'm becoming Sardek Love? Are you thinking about books that you may write, or how you're going to impact people? Are you thinking at all at that moment where you just got this great break?
Well, so the answer is yes.
Oh,
I'm an intentional guy. So
yeah.
my parents raised me to always be forward thinking, I'm a visualization type person too. So I always project into the future, where I want to be and go after it. So I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know how to do that. And I was afraid. I had imposter syndrome. And I was like, if I write a book, who's going to read it? I don't know how to do this stuff. So, and by the way, I was a trainer at that time. I wasn't known for facilitation. I was actually a hard trainer. And Rick's company, he gave me two mentors inside his company, Diane Dick and Michael LeBlanc. And so as we were working around the world in all these different countries, Indonesia, Africa, Canada, you name it, I was getting mentored by some of these two people who were amazing facilitators. And so what I then did, Sarah and Clifton, is I took what I learned, and I'm a process guy. So I started realizing that they weren't necessarily telling me how to do things in a process way. They were just showing me, and I would just model them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started documenting how this works and creating frameworks for this stuff. And then I said, you know what? I can sell this. This is in the training space. No one knows how to really do this all that well. I mean, there's train the trainers, but they don't know how to do facilitation that well. So that's where I kind of carved into that. And then here's the key about the book. The first book I wrote with Ann Bruce, Speak for a Living, second edition.
Mm-hmm.
I met Ann in 2009 at the ATD International Conference. She had a book that she was coming out with, Speak for a Living, the first edition, and she had 1,000 people in her room or something. So I went to the book signing. I was first in line. And I told her when she signed my book, I said, I'm going to take your book. I'm going to be just like you. And she had probably like 40, 50 people behind me. And she was like, yeah, okay. Move. I got other people to sign. She's very humble. But I took that book, 2009. Mm-hmm. So here's where it gets interesting. You want to talk about networking. I've never disclosed this publicly, so you guys are going to get a scoop here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
2009, I met her. In 2010, I became chair of the ALC PAC, so Chapter Leaders Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, I was chair of came back onto the NAC for 1 year as the chair of the ALC, which is the Chapter Leaders Conference, the Program Advisory Committee. I was the chair of that committee. We had to choose two keynotes. I convinced the committee to select Ann Bruce as one of our keynotes. Mm-hmm. When she came, I got FaceTime with her. That began that connection. Now, she delivered an amazing keynote, but this is the networking, very intentional, right? I let them choose, but I gave them her name. Yeah. They chose.
Yeah.
And so that was 2010. 2013, now I had taken the book and I landed a keynote speech with Omantel over in Oman. And on my way to Omantel, the local chapter out in Orange County asked me to come speak and do a keynote. Guess who the other keynote that they got was? Ann Bruce.
Of course it was.
So now Ann and I have dinner with the two chapter leaders who we both knew as friends. Mm-hmm. We're doing them a favor. And Ann was like, wow, you have emerged as a speaker and you're going to like Oman from here? And I was like, yeah. I asked her to mentor me. So when ATD came and asked, because her first book was a bestseller in 2009. Mm-hmm. So in 2016-ish, they came to her and said, we want the second edition of that book. And she said, I've got the perfect person who took the book to write it. And you already know him. His name is Sardek Love.
Oh my God. That is insane.
Now it gets a little bit better. Again, I'm going to disclose something that's very scoop.
Okay. I love this. I love some tea.
Ooh, the publishing arm did not know Sardek of ATD. Education and speaking, yes, but not the publishing arm. The publishing, the editor of the book told Anne no to Sardek. And she said, if you want the book, Sardek will be a part of that book, or I'll take the book and go elsewhere. They were like, okay. And
Wow.
that's how I got the book. They actually said no the first time. And
Wow.
now when we fast forward at conferences, when I speak at ATD conferences, ever since Presentation Essentials came out in 2002, both books sell out.
Wow.
Again, the
Very,
connection to
very,
ATD.
very intentional.
Yeah.
I'm very intentional.
I don't get luck at all. I get blessings, obviously, but I don't get luck at all. You place yourself in the way where you can be selected.
He creates his own luck.
That's incredible. Is that the advice that you would give to someone starting out in the field, to be intentional and to place themselves in positions to win?
Go where your value matches your ambition. Yes.
Go where your value matches your ambition.
I like that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a quotable. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, because yes, luck, but you know what luck is? That definition of luck is being prepared to seize the opportunity when it presents itself. So luck is about being intentional. I have been very intentional. Now, you know, you're going to have heartaches, and I've had, you know, I'll tell you, I've been bankrupt, you know.
Oh, wow.
So things are not always easy when you're doing this, you know, and you know, so things can happen. But the fun thing about this side of what I do is you can turn things around fairly quickly and recover fairly quickly if you have a solid base and you learn from those mistakes. So it's not all roses and things like that. It's a journey, and it's a true labor of love if you're going to do this on the outside and be a business owner. You know, and I have no problem telling people I failed many and many a time, and I've been bankrupt. And yet I've had, after all of that, I've had the best years in my business and in my life after all those heartaches.
Whew. That's some sage advice for our people. I hope they listen to this. So we're going to be playing it for all the folks who come after and say that they want to start a business. I mean, I haven't heard that advice before about being intentional. I've heard a lot of things, but your story and how you place yourself in the forums is remarkable. Wow.
Agreed.
Takes a lot of effort, a lot of discipline, and a lot of support. I've got, you know, the Rick Hicks of the world. When I look at my network, and I often say your net worth is tied to your network.
I believe that.
Yeah, that old cliche of the 5 people around you we can determine your level of success or lack thereof based on the 5 people that you keep closest to you. That is very, very true. As I've gotten more mature and as I've gotten more successful, that network of people that are very close to me, my inner circle of advisors, they become my personal board of advisors, has become very, very small.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Thank you.
You've had great people around you. And this reminds me of a story we were talking about before with the cover of your book that you wrote. Can you tell our listeners about this book cover debacle and how you overcame some challenges with that?
Yeah, so I was telling Sarah and Clifton off camera about, you know, so Speak for a Living, that was published by ATD in 2018. And Ann Bruce and I wrote that book. And Ann is a prolific writer. She's written, I don't know, like 27, 28 books. And she actually coached me on how to write books. And that was one of the hooks for me to write the book with her. She's like, I'll teach you how to write a book if you write this book with me, because you're going to do most of the writing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And, you know, so the book is this book, Speak for a Living, 2nd edition, is a book that you can pick up to teach you how to create a business as a speaker, trainer, coach, or consultant. And if you're a speaker, we wanted that book to be a resource that would help you to be able to get a $10,000 or more fee on stage for a 1-hour keynote. So that was the idea. That was
Okay.
the value of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when ATD, put this in perspective, when ATD publishes books, at that time, they published maybe 12, 15 books a year. Major publishers like McGraw-Hill, which published my second book, they might publish 10 times that many a year. So ATD is a niche publisher. And when they came up with the covers for the book, because rarely do speakers ever get a chance to select the cover or have any input, but they actually said, hey, what do you think about this cover? And I looked at the cover and it was clip art. And I have a personal bias against clip art. And I was like, and I asked Anne, I showed it to her, and she was like, I was like, does this book, like, you would pick this book up and it would help you get $10,000 with this cover? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay. So I went back to ATD, and they came back with another set. And I was like, it's getting worse. It's more clip arty. And so I casually, carefully went back and said, can we try another one? Then they came back with, and if any of you are using Canva, I use Canva a lot. And all of a sudden, this cover looked very similar to a Canva template. Now I'm ticked off. So I'm like, now they've relegated to a Canva template. And so I went down to ATD and met with their publisher, the editor. And I showed her on my laptop. I said, here's that. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, we paid somebody for this. And I said, you know what? Ann, Bruce, and I, we've got a graphic artist and designer. We've got a cover we'd like for you to consider. And she looked at me, she said, well, we've already paid somebody for the cover. And so I showed her the cover, which happens to be this cover. I said, that cover, do you think that cover looks like a cover for a book that would help you get $10,000? And she said, maybe. I said, well, you can have it. You don't have to pay us anything. We paid for it. She's like, but we've already paid for it. We've already got this designer. I said, okay, look, she wasn't getting what I was saying. So I said, look, give it to your designer. Let them change whatever they want. Let them call it their own. Hint, hint, hint. But that's a really good cover. She was like, okay. And that became the cover with no changes.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Now, what I'm saying there, this story is, I was very intentional. Think about it. The value of the book, we were thinking, we wanted this book to look like you would pick it up in Barnes and Nobles, and it's going to give you some value just by looking at it. Because we know from research on books that people make a decision on purchasing a book based on the cover within the first 3 seconds.
Definitely.
So we research. Anne writes books for a living.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was ask her that one question. Does that cover that you've got look like a book that would help somebody make $10,000 from a keynote? And she said, no. I said, what about this one? She said, yes.
There you go.
I love it.
Thank you for just like all of your world experience. I mean, it really is, and I've said this so many times, I'm going to keep saying it. It really is remarkable to talk to someone who has done so much, and you've gone so far, and you're like right here. I want everyone to know, like, it wasn't difficult to have you do this podcast. I mean, we had a conversation. You were as easygoing as you are now, and you're forthcoming with information because, again, we have people who join ATD Greater Detroit trying to find an answer of how to be successful and how to start their career. The information is not out there. Folks are not forthcoming like you are. So again, we really appreciate you for doing this. But it is fun time right now. I get to be the fun person on the podcast. And so I was trying to think of some things that we could do with you. And the only thing that comes to mind that I would love to do and to see how it works is rapid fire.
Okay.
And so because you seem like a pretty sharp guy. That's why get your water bottle, because you know how rapid fire works. We gotta fire some questions off, and you gotta answer it within 2 to 3 seconds. So truly, what comes to mind? So we got 12 questions, not going to be long, but just a way that, we can get to know you more, because everyone needs to know more about you and everything that you're doing. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Go for it.
All right. So coffee or tea?
I'm a tea guy.
All right. Favorite place to travel? That's hard. You've been everywhere.
Right now, Costa Rica.
I
Okay,
knew you were going to
okay.
say that.
Early bird or night owl?
I'm an early bird, always have been.
Okay.
Hmm.
One word to describe yourself.
Phenomenal.
Ooh.
Who is your dream dinner guest, alive or dead?
Bruce Lee, because I'm a martial artist.
Oh, cool.
What?
Bonus.
Okay, this is rapid fire. I gotta keep going. Gotta keep going. Best piece of advice you've ever received.
Best piece of advice I've ever received.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Comfort is the enemy of success. Keep going.
Wow.
It's a good
Favorite book or movie?
Mine. Okay. But
one.
unbiased, because I really do think these two books, particularly Presentation Essentials, but my favorite all-time movie is actually a Bruce Lee movie, Into the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. What's a guilty pleasure of yours?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, same.
Morning routine must have.
Um, Listen to a podcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
what
Okay.
did you listen to today?
I'm a big fan of Ed Milet. So if you're not familiar with Ed Milet, he's a I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's pretty multi. He came from a dysfunctional family, and his father was an alcoholic and all that, but yet he turned his life around,
Mm.
or got his father's life turned around, and he helps other people. He helps individuals and companies. So he interviews everybody, and his
Oh,
podcast is amazing. It's the Ed
Nice.
Milet Show.
sorry, I killed your rapid fire.
It's okay. If you weren't doing what you do now, what would you be doing?
Believe it or not, I would probably be managing and leading teams in a very technical environment.
Hmm.
And this is a good one. We haven't lived here at all today. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Hmm.
Uh,
What's a little Sardek love to do?
there was a amusement park in New Jersey, and I grew
Mhm.
up in Mount Vernon, New York. So there was an
Mhm.
amusement park in New Jersey. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Gosh, because we're talking many, many years ago. But I used to love to go to that amusement park. So that was my favorite childhood memory. I can't
Hmm.
remember the name of it now, though.
Okay. And then lastly, something you're grateful for today.
I'm grateful for every person that I get to meet, interact with, help, because my success is based off of helping other people get successful and get and achieve their dreams and achieve their potential. So every interaction is a blessing. You two are a blessing. This podcast is a blessing. So I'm thankful every chance I get a chance to share what I can to help
Yeah.
others.
And you're
Love
definitely going to
that.
be a blessing to a lot of our members that hear this. I'm telling you, this is a thorn in our sides. We're all
Yeah.
figuring out how to make it work and how to do the thing that we love and to be successful at it. We're all thinking about that. So we really
Yeah.
appreciate all of your advice today. Just having a takeaway, last 2 minutes. What can our members do today to become more successful through ATD Detroit? Because we're about to have this membership appreciation, and we're gonna shower them with all this love and these gifts. That's what I know how to do best. But
Mhm.
we definitely want to respond to some of their challenges and some of their needs. So what can they do to be more successful through ATD Detroit, given everything you've been through?
Hmm.
I think one of the things that ATD is very well positioned, and particularly your chapter and the local chapters are very well positioned, is to help those who are intentional about growing their skill set.
Mhm.
Now, and I say that with all sincerity because a lot of people will sit back and say, well, I'm not going to pay for membership to anything unless my company pays for it. And that's a very short-sighted idea. And here's why. Because people will not invest in you if you're not willing to invest in yourself. So
Yeah.
those who invest in themselves and see growth and have a dream, a vision, and have the wherewithal, because the enemy of success is a lack of action. You've got to
Yeah.
constantly take action. You've got to be intentional about it. So, come up with a plan. If you don't have a plan, go and ask somebody who's been there before you. And
Yeah.
that's the mentoring networking. In fact, on my video blog series, I have 7 questions. One of the blogs right now is 7 questions you should ask a mentor that will explode your career. So you've got to have a plan. You've got to be intentional. And it doesn't matter whether you win today or tomorrow. It's the long run. You got to be in it for long run. And if you do those things, and the chapter is well positioned to help you with skill development, become active on the boards, because now you're going to, I always say, the best form of leadership. If you want to know how good you are as a leader, lead a bunch of volunteers that you can't fire and see how.
Right.
Okay, if you can
Right.
rally volunteers to a cause and grow and help that chapter grow, and that's what I became very good at. Every chapter I
Okay.
led, I was chapter president of 2 different chapters, both Valleys of Virginia, Roanoke, and the Metro DC chapter. I
Mhm.
turned those chapters around not because of me, because of we. It was the people I put on the board, I helped get on the board, and it said, just like that lady told me at Mercedes-Benz, if you come on, I'll, blah, blah, blah. I tell every board member, if you come on, tell me what your career goals is, I will help you as best I can, and we'll help all of us together.
I
And
love
if you
that.
board members from Metro DC, Halele Azulay, some people you might recognize. If you look at Cindy Huggett, who's one of the preeminent speakers and authors on virtual training, she was a chapter president,
Mhm.
Raleigh Durham. So a lot of former chapter presidents came through and are very successful at this point in their careers, just like me. So get
Wow.
involved.
That he was speaking to me and you, Sarah.
I know he was. I appreciate this.
I
I'm
promise I was
new.
asking about the members and you turned around and you counseled me and Sarah right away. I mean, we
Yeah.
definitely need to take that approach next year in getting people involved. We have to be
Yeah.
concerned about what their needs are. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. If y'all, and I say this to every chapter when I used to advise chapters, and this is still true to this day. And I know it sounds simple. Ask your members this question: what is the biggest challenge that they're facing at work?
Yeah,
Leave it open-ended
yeah.
and see and look for themes. That's a concept that I've created called the top challenges activity that has
Mhm.
darn near made me famous within the ATD structure. But
Mhm.
that question, you'll start to see themes and trends, and therefore you can now do your programming based off of those top challenges once you, look at the data. So there's that data man
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Clifton, that's our next goal is that programming. So
yeah.
let's soak it all in.
We're on
Last
it.
thing,
We're on it.
last thing I'll mention to you, just real quick while
Uh,
it's on my
Yeah.
mind.
mhm.
Remember I told you when I was a chapter president, I went to ATD and said, hey, give me some national caliber speakers.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
Can I do that?
Yes, I tell chapters all the time, I'm willing
Mm.
to come and speak. All you got to do is work with me and we'll work it out, but I will come and speak. And guess how many chapters annually ask me to come speak? Out of the 120,
0.
like 3. You can
Okay.
get Sardek not for free, but you can get Sardek for darn near free. And what I'm saying to you is not just me. I got friends. I got other speaker friends. We would love to come and help the chapters, but the problem is most chapters don't know how to run their chapters like a business and they don't know how to serve their members. So get these people, get your speakers, get them to
Okay.
come in and help you out. Do a membership drive with that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Wow. So before we wrap, why don't you shout out where we can find you to learn more about you and your business? We gotta jump on your marketing team here. You're too
Hmm.
awesome for us.
I appreciate that. So if you want to learn more about Sardek, or if you would like to get some access to some free stuff, my website, sardeklove.com. And on sardeklove.com, you'll find the Ask a Master Facilitator video blog series. So you could sign up for it if you like. Every Monday, I take a question from a training professional and I answer those and give tips, strategies, and tools. And I think I'm up to episode now. There's only 3 on the website at any given time. They rotate off. if you're a member of my Master Facilitator graduate program or programs, then you get access to all, what is it? I think we're episode 98 now. So you can get those for free. And, of course, sardeklove.com. Follow me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of things on LinkedIn as well. And then, of course, lastly, both books are available on Amazon.com if you'd like to get either or both.
Beautiful. Thank you. And all that information will be in the notes as well.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for blessing us today. That's some good information. Our members are going to love this.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I don't know, for whatever reason, and it's interesting, those things that I said were scoops. I have never shared those publicly. So you've got something that is very unique.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.